You're scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m., reading about trauma responses and attachment styles, suddenly seeing your entire childhood through this new lens. You feel more aware than ever. You're also more exhausted than ever. We live in an age where understanding is currency. The more you can name what's wrong, the more in touch you seem. We're taught to narrate everything, to process everything, to know ourselves better than anyone else could possibly know us. Picture this. You wake up feeling off. Maybe your chest feels tight, or there's a heaviness behind your eyes. Immediately, the analysis begins. Why do I feel this way? Is it because I didn't sleep enough? Is it anxiety? Am I depressed? Is this about the conversation I had yesterday? Am I having a trauma response? And then comes the secondary layer. Why am I analyzing this so much? I'm being too much in my head. I should just accept how I feel. But wait. Am I avoiding something important by not analyzing it? The feeling that might have lasted 5 minutes now stretches into hours of mental loops. We've turned a simple moment of discomfort into a research project. But there's a cost to that kind of constant knowing, because sometimes the pressure to understand becomes just another form of mental noise. We think we're on the path to healing, but really, we're just adding more tabs to the mind. Here's something we rarely talk about. You didn't run a marathon. You ran loops in your head, but your body doesn't know the difference. When you spend 3 hours analyzing why you felt weird this morning, your nervous system stays activated the entire time. Your shoulders tense. Your jaw clenches. Your breathing gets shallow. You're physically exhausted, not from moving through the world, but from moving through thoughts about the world. Think about it. A child falls down, scrapes their knee, cries for 30 seconds, then runs off to play. Their body processed the pain, released it, and moved on. But an adult? An adult falls down and spends the next week analyzing their clumsiness, what it says about their coordination, whether they need to see a doctor, if this is a sign of aging, what their partner will think. The original pain lasted seconds. The mental commentary lasts days. This is cognitive exhaustion, masquerading as emotional work. Your mind thinks it's being productive, but your body is paying the price. You collapse into bed at night, feeling drained, not because you lived fully, but because you thought fully. Rest for the body is simple. You lie down. But rest for the mind? We've forgotten what that even looks like. Ludwig Wittgenstein once wrote, "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." It sounds harsh, almost defeatist. But it isn't. It's a boundary, a line between what can be expressed and what should simply be experienced. Wittgenstein wasn't anti-thought. He was anti-overreach. He believed in the limits of language, not because he lacked insight, but because he respected the spaces that can't be labeled. But here's what makes Wittgenstein's insight so profound. He spent his entire life wrestling with the limits of what could be said. He was obsessed with precision, with getting language exactly right. And yet, at the end of all that intellectual rigor, his conclusion was simple. Some things are beyond words, not because they're mysterious or mystical, but because they're immediate. They exist in the realm of direct experience. Alan Watts put it another way. The finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. We've become so fascinated by our descriptions of experience that we've forgotten the experience itself. When you're angry, The anger is immediate, real, present. But the moment you start analyzing it, I'm angry because of my abandonment issues. You're no longer in relationship with the anger. You're in relationship with your concept of the anger. You've moved from the moon to the finger, pointing at it. Wittgenstein wasn't offering silence as a punishment. He was offering it as respect. Respect for what can't be captured and doesn't need to be. Here's what we've forgotten. Emotions have their own intelligence. They know how to move through us when we don't interfere. Somewhere along the way, we learned that feelings need management, that every emotion requires a strategy, a framework, an explanation. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm angry because I have abandonment issues. I'm sad because I'm processing generational trauma. These might all be true. But notice what happens when you name it like that. The feeling becomes a problem to be solved, rather than an experience to be lived. Let me paint you some scenes of what this looks like. The breakup. You're sitting across from someone you love, and they're telling you it's over. But instead of feeling the raw grief, part of your mind is already narrating. This is triggering my attachment wounds. I can see my anxious patterns emerging. This is probably about my relationship with my father. You're mid-heartbreak, already playing therapist. The feeling gets buried under the analysis. The job loss. You get the call. You're being let go. But before the shock can even settle, the commentary begins. I always knew this would happen. This is my imposter syndrome being confirmed. I need to process why I didn't see this coming. You're so busy categorizing your emotions that you never actually feel them. The calm moment. You're sitting by a lake, actually feeling peaceful for once. But then, why do I feel so calm right now? Is this what mindfulness feels like? Should I be doing this more often? I should remember this technique. Even peace gets turned into a psychological case study. We're living narrated lives. We've become the directors of our own emotional documentaries, providing constant voiceover instead of just living the scenes. Today, those limits don't exist. We try to describe everything: what we feel, why we feel it, what childhood wound it connects to, what it says about our attachment style, how it ties to nervous system regulation. We don't just feel. We narrate our feelings while we're having them. I'm anxious, and I know that's probably because I'm avoidant, and I know that's because of how my parents, etc. We're creating commentary tracks for emotions that just want to pass through us. And in trying to be conscious all the time, we've lost the skill of simply being. Let me show you what I mean. Right now, as you're listening to this, you might be feeling something. Maybe agreement, maybe resistance, maybe just presence. Don't name it. Don't figure out why. Don't connect it to anything else you know about yourself. Just let it exist in your body without turning it into a story. Notice the difference. When you're not trying to capture the experience in words, there's more space around it. The feeling doesn't have to carry the weight of being understood. It can just be what it is. This isn't about suppressing anything. It's about giving your internal world permission to exist without constant commentary. There's a kind of wisdom that only arrives when we stop narrating, not because we're suppressing, but because we're finally letting things be unnamed. The moment you stop trying to phrase it perfectly, a different kind of calm arrives. Not clarity in the form of answers, but clarity in the form of absence, like a room that's finally empty, like mental gravity returning after years of intellectual floating. Our minds are powerful meaning-making machines. They want to connect every dot, trace every feeling back to its source, create a coherent narrative of why we are the way we are. But meaning-making is different from meaning-grasping. Making meaning is creative, alive, unfolding. It happens naturally as you move through life, like a path appearing under your feet as you walk. Grasping for meaning is desperate, controlling, exhausting. It's like trying to map out every step before you take it, then spending more time studying the map than walking the path. When you stop trying to grasp every feeling, you make space for something deeper to emerge. Not answers, but presence. Not understanding, but being. You're not closing tabs in your mind. You're just opening quieter ones. The real peace comes when you finally let the browser rest. If you're exhausted from trying to explain how you feel, you're not alone. And maybe, the next time something heavy moves through you, you don't need to process it. You don't need to trace it back to a cause. Maybe all you need is to leave it unnamed and let it dissolve on its own timeline. You're not failing to find the answer. You're finally making space for something deeper to surface. That quiet space, where the tabs finally close and silence holds the weight. That's the signal within.